Thank you to all my channel members, including my fan appreciation level members and my contributor level members, for helping support the YouTube channel. Hello, and welcome to my channel. My name is Jonathan Cohn, and today I have my book review of the Star Trek novel, Star Trek Gateways, One Small Step by Susan Wright. This is the first book of 7 Gateways in the Gateways series. I picked this up for 2 reasons. One is I've been collecting this series because I wanted to get to it eventually, and 2, I read the Star Trek books with Literary Treks now, and where we go, the co-host Casey Pettit and I go through and talk about all the Star Trek books as we read them, and we do about 1 a month. And so we're going to start doing the Gateways series. We're going to start it in January, and then we will read it through except for when a new Star Trek novel comes out. We might break in the series. So it might take us, instead of 7 months, it might take us 8 or 9 months. But we're going to read through the whole Gateway series. And so this is the first book in the series. It's really short. It's a really short book. Not only is it 237 pages, which for a novel is short anyway, it has really surprisingly large font and spacing. So it's actually like really, I think another author might consider this to be a novella because of how short it is. But it's the first book in the series. All the other books except for book 5 are longer, are significantly longer. Book 5 is about the same length, but all the other books in the series are longer, so they'll feel more like traditional novels. But this is like a taste of what the Gateways series has, and each book in the Gateways series features a different crew. The first book is the TOS crew, the original series. The second book in the series follows the Challenger. The book 3 follows the Next Generation. Book 4 follows DS9. Book 5 follows Voyager. Book 6 follows Peter David's New Frontier, and then book 7 follows all 6 together, and it's like a big, everything coming together type thing. And so this is supposed to be the kickoff for the Gateways series. And it is an interesting kickoff. First of all, the book opens in media res. The characters are already on this planet looking for, just kind of investigating this planet, and there's already this woman who's shooting at them and firing, and they're in the middle of a battle, and you're just like, what? What did I just jump into? And I thought this, when I've seen this type of thing before in a prologue, you see that in the prologue, and then chapter 1 flashes back and you see how we got there. That's typically how this would be handled. This book, the prologue, dumps you in the middle of the battle, and then once the prologue's over, chapter 1 just takes you forward. And it does a very minimalist job of explaining where you are, how the characters got here. It's just like, oh, the ship has been, the characters, our main cast, most of the main cast is on the planet, but the ones who aren't on the planet were on the ship that was flung far away in space, and they're on their way back. And you're like, but we didn't get to see any of that. We didn't see how the setup. There was no setup here. It's just kind of boom, you're there. And in media res works if the opening sequence is not supposed to be the driving force of the book. Like if it's like, in Indiana Jones, you open in media res, but you're only there for a little while, and the bulk of the book is a different story, or bulk of the movie is a different storyline. Here, the entire story is following from the prologue, and it was just an odd choice, an odd writing choice to do so. But they're on this planet, and they're looking for what's causing this weird shield, this weird energy pulses, and there's also this weird messages left behind from this group, the Kalendans, who are seemingly dead, wiped out by a virus, and there's Klingons that are coming in a little bit. And there's also another ship filled with other people. And those other people are very interested in what's on this abandoned planet. And so Kirk and McCoy and Spock, they work with the people from this other ship, this other group, and they try to figure out what's going on this planet, and they find a gateway. And the whole book is the latter part of the book is figuring out how the gateway works, how to defend it, how to protect it from the Klingons or the Romulans or anyone else. And as I said, it's a really short book, so there's not much meat to this book. Everything in the book is done competently. Everything is done competently. There's not a part of the book that I'm like, that was done poorly. The whole book is done competently. But none of the book grabbed me. None of the book was great. None of the book was particularly amazing. It was just, well, it was fine. Yeah, it was a good read. You know, like I've read some Star Trek books recently that I was like, that was such a bad book. That was like, what were you thinking? Like there was one book I read recently where it felt like the author had so little time and tried to cram as much into the story as possible. That's not the case with this one. The story is, logical. The whole what's planned in this book makes sense. Like the author knew she only had 200 pages and uses the 200 pages well. So I'll give Susan Wright credit for, it feels like she knew she had an episode's worth instead of 2 episodes. Like most novels I describe as feeling like a two-parter episode thing. This is definitely a single episode, single-parter. And I think Susan Wright knew that going in. But still, like, it didn't wow me ever. None of the character work was great. The other group that meets the Enterprise crew there, they were just fine. None of them stood out. None of them were particularly great. And the plot wasn't particularly great. The ending is shocking, but like, you know how it's going to get resolved later on because you just know how these has to happen in Star Trek. So it was just fine. None of the book was great. None of the book was bad. All the book was just okay. I'm going to give it like a 6 out of 10. I think it was competently done. But yeah, I'm going to go full spoilers in depth on this with Casey on the Literary Treks podcast. So check that out. Just Google Literary Treks. You'll find it. We will talk about this eventually. It's either already out or coming out very soon. So that is my review of One Small Step, the first book in the Gateways series, which was apparently created by, the concept was created by John J. Ordover and Robert Greenberger. So if you've read this book, let me know your thoughts in the comments section. Please subscribe to the channel, like this video. Please consider becoming a channel member if you want to see weekly updates and other stuff. And until next time, I'm Jonathan, and thank you for watching.